So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. If you're in Europe, thank you for joining me. My name is Al Mina, I'm the faceconomics concept author. Thank you once again for your support and your unwavering dedication to our campaign concept and overall agenda, which is to make this world a much more welcoming, inclusive, affluent society for everyone to benefit from, not just a few, but for everyone. We would do that by utilizing our social media platform in economic development worldwide. As you all know, there's quite a bit of stuff going on, not just here in Europe, but also in the U.S. with the upcoming election, as well as in South America, Africa, and Asia. That very few people really get the chance to be exposed to and evaluate the situation regarding those markets and the population, civilization, and societies in those continents. I wonder why that is. And I don't know if any one of you had stopped to kind of reflect on, the overall, situation, not just here in Europe, but all over the world, because there's strife, there's struggle, there's economic hardship, lack of resources, lack of education, throughout the world. So in this podcast, I just kind of want to reflect on those underdog countries and societies, as well as continents that are not always that visible in the Western world. It is now the year 2023, and yet there's still people throughout the world that are hungry. They're going, you know, hungry, and no one seems to care about them. So I thought I reflect on the overall strife of people around the world, not just here in Europe, but around the world. And now that we have this social media platform, I think it's much more efficient for us to consider those that are less fortunate, because wars and all sorts of human conflict and social conflict happens because of lack of resources, because of lack of education and an overall situational condition in the marketplace. Matter of fact, Europe is one of the most affluent continent on planet Earth. If you look at the GDP of each country throughout Europe versus those in South America, Asia, and Africa. So, I just thought I'd point that out. I mean, it's. I think we should reflect on ways to change and improve society versus taking sides anywhere around the world when there's conflict. In the past, whenever there's a conflict, the reason for that is because of lack of communication and misunderstandings. Just the overall limitations of people to voice their concerns and opinions to support their agendas. Today, because of social media, everyone can pretty much share their life experience, their opinions, ideas, concerns on a social media platform. And I think that would definitely reduce conflict and escalation of a conflict that would precipitate a war situation. I always been on the school of thought that if you let people debate, if you let people voice their concerns and share their overall experience, there would be no war on this planet. Because war again is all about misunderstandings, and the lack of opportunity to talk about special conditions that are happening around the world. There are dialogues that's been happening at the United Nations, for example, and other, institutions where people debate, but I think that it's not widely, you know, shared throughout the world. I think the social media platform should be that medium in which populations can discuss their life experience and how they feel about certain conditions in their country, and also how they perceive you know um, the overall influences of another country in their society. I'm a big believer of communication and diplomacy, and the opportunity to exchange ideas and thoughts and concerns. And now we actually have a platform to do that. Social media has never been a part of mankind, humanity, or any society around the world, up until just a couple of years ago, not even, 50 years old, as far as the, social media platform is concerned. But yeah, people still, are engaged in old fashioned, old, ways of settling differences, which is, conflicts that escalate into, a tragic war, or not just here in Europe, but in other parts of the world too, because there's an ongoing war in other parts of the world as well. So yeah, folks, let's just kind of think outside the box, and make that box even bigger. We can't limit ourselves anymore. You know, these limiting beliefs of there's only one way to solve a conflict, which is engaging in a war, or decimating a population, is definitely very archaic. That's an old way of thinking that shows lack of wisdom, lack of education, lack of you know problem solving skills. And so we should, as a world community, rally behind people in societies and governments, and world communities that are interested in resolving conflict amicably and peacefully. Okay, folks. So my background is in economic development. I'm all about creating opportunities in markets worldwide. I'm all about helping others succeed, um, by building capacity. But when people engage in an event and condition where there isn't any opportunity to build, because if you wipe out society, if you wipe out the population in a society, then what